Hey, Dan Beagleman here. This video is on the Lydian Mode. It's the fourth in a series of 7 videos on the modes based on the major diatonic scale. In this video, I'll talk about the chemistry of the Lydian Mode. In other words, why does it sound the way it does in terms of its chemistry or sequence of steps. I'll also talk about ideas for soloing, improvising, applications for the scale, and also which type of chord or chords and key it will work for. And I will also get into demonstrating mixing the Lydian Mode with the correct pentatonic and blues scale. As I mentioned in previous videos, there are only 2 types of pentatonic scales, major and minor, and 2 types of blues scales, major and minor. And then you have to use the correct one with the correct mode, as the modes are sort of grouped into 3 categories. There are major sounding modes, minor sounding modes, and one dominant sounding mode. And I'll get into that one in the next video on the Lydian Mode. So, on to the Lydian Mode. What is it about the Lydian Mode that gives it its own unique sound? Every scale, every mode has a sequence or a pattern to it of steps. The Lydian Mode has 5 whole steps and 2 half steps. A whole step is equivalent to 2 frets, a half step is equivalent to 1 fret. So if I apply that pattern, whole, half, whole, half, which makes up the Lydian Mode, I'll play a C Lydian Mode on string 2. So string 2, fret 1, C note, and now I'm going to play a whole step higher, which is D, a whole step higher, which is E, a whole step higher, which is F sharp, a half step higher, which is G, a whole step higher, which is A, whole step higher, which is B, and a half step higher, which is C, brings us to the octave. Here's a C Lydian Mode on string 2. And it has a certain characteristic sound to it because I'm following that sequence. Now, if I look at the notes I just played, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. There's the F sharp. What scale or what key has an F sharp in it? The answer is G. The key of G has 1 sharp, F sharp, and the G major scale has an F sharp. So a C Lydian Mode shares the same notes as a G major scale. But here's the difference. You can hear this. Here's a G major scale. And it has the F sharp in there. And if I play a G chord, you can hear it against the chord, how it sounds like it matches. If I play the same G scale but start and end on a C note instead, so I'll play C to C but using the F sharp, it sounds closer to the C chord. Okay, so you could think of a C Lydian Mode as a G major scale. They have the same notes. The difference being, though, if you want to think of it from the point of view as a G scale or G Ionian mode, you have to use the G as the key center. But if I want to use the C Lydian Mode, which again is the same notes as a G scale, I just want to focus on the C note as my key center. So C Lydian and G major are the same. So one way you can think of a C Lydian Mode, or any Lydian Mode for that matter, is to think of playing a major scale built on the 5th of the key. If I'm in C, if C is my key center, the 5th of C is G. Okay? So the scale that's a 5th above the key center is the Lydian Mode, but focusing on that root note C, not G. I hope that makes sense. And that's just another way to approach the mode, to think about it. I'm in the key of C. What's the 5th of C? G. Oh, I'll play G scale, but focus on the C note, which is the 4th tone in the scale. If I'm in the key of F, play a C scale, because C is the 5th of F. If I'm in the key of E, play a B scale, because B is the fifth of E. But whatever key you're in, when you make that transition or that connection, you want to make sure you focus as your key center or root note, not the root note of the major scale you're going to apply it to, but the root note of the key that you're in. So again, if I'm in the key of E and I want to play E Lydian, I could play a B major scale, but not focus on the B note, focus on the E note. Right? That would be an E Lydian mode. A B scale, but using the E as the key center. Back to C for a moment here. One of the nice things you could see that, or comes out from this here, is when you play a C Lydian mode, the difference between that and the Ionian mode. Remember, the Ionian mode is a major sounding mode. C Ionian has all natural notes. It's a C major scale. And it sounds just like a C chord, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If I make this Lydian, which means I'm raising the fourth tone, actually it's another way to look at a Lydian mode. It's a major scale with a sharp or raised fourth. C major scale. C Lydian mode. I'm going to sharp that fourth tone. Instead of playing F, I'm going to play F sharp. So a Lydian mode is a major scale with a sharp or raised fourth. Now by raising that fourth, it gives it kind of I like to think of almost like a haunting kind of a sound to it. Right? And it matches up with some interesting chords. Here's a C major 7 sharp 11 chord. Okay, here's a C major 7 chord. And if I play a C major scale, the C Ionian mode, it's going to match that chord, sounds nice. But if I sharp that fourth, again changing the F to an F sharp, and what's the difference here? C major 7, but now I put an F sharp on the top. C major 7, and this would be the 11th, sharp 11th tone. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And if I sharp it, C major 7, sharp 11. So the Lydian mode and the Ionian mode, or the major scale, share 6 common notes or tones, but that fourth, by sharpening the fourth and creating a Lydian mode, you get this whole different kind of character sound. Kind of very haunting sounding, at least that's kind of how I like to think of it. Like all scales and modes, there are many patterns across the fingerboard, but this one I like to use, I use the phrase user-friendly, and the reason why this is a very good one, at least to start with, is because the lowest note is the root note of whatever key you want it to be. Okay? So using, as an example, I'll play a C Lydian mode across the strings here. I'm going to be in position 9. And now the ninth position means that you're going to cover 4 frets from 9 through 12, a finger to a fret, 9, 10, 11, 12. But this particular pattern on the string 6 and string 1, I'm going to stretch my first finger back to the left to get that 8th fret. So it opens up a space between my first and second finger just for these 2 strings. So again, this pattern, I'm still thinking I'm in position 9, but I'm going to be actually covering a 5 fret span because of those 2 strings that I'm stretching out on. So here's the pattern. Okay, again, C Lydian mode in the 9th position, and my notes are C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, and continuing on. There again, that C major 7 sharp 11 chord. And needless to say, the nice thing about this is that you could see right away, string 6, finger 1, that's your key note, so wherever you want to play G Lydian, start on a G note, E Lydian, start on an E note, whatever. So it's pretty like straight ahead, and it's like right in front of you. Okay, and this the range of this scale or mode pattern is the root note is the lowest, and the highest note is the third degree of the scale. I have two octaves, and then a little bit extra on here, octave 1, octave 2, and octave 3. Right, so you get a pretty nice expanse across the fingerboard horizontally. Now, when using a mode for soloing, improvising, maybe composing lines, any application for it, you have to consider what type of mode it is. When I say type, I mean sort of chord category. I like to think of chords as three basic categories: major chords, or any type of major chord which has a major third, major seventh if it's more advanced, things like that. Minor chords have a minor third and a minor seventh, and then on if you're going to advanced chords. And the dominant chord, which has a major third but a flat seventh, or a minor seventh, if you will, which makes it the dominant type mode, which I'll get into the next video, which is on Lydian mode. As I said, I think earlier in one of the videos, there are 4 minor modes, 2 major modes, and 1 dominant mode coming off of the major diatonic scale. The 2 major modes are the Ionian mode, which is my first video, and the Lydian mode, which is this one. Both major modes because they both have a natural third and a natural seventh. The difference between the Ionian mode, again, is the Ionian mode is all natural notes, and the all natural notes if you're in the key of C, and the Lydian mode is a major scale or an Ionian mode with a sharp fourth. But because it has the natural third and the natural seventh, it'll still apply to major sounding chords. And again, if I look at the first, what makes up a chord, the basic 3-part chord, the basic triad. Remember, a major triad is 1-3-5, a minor is 1 flat 3-5. So if I play the first, third, and fifth note of the Ionian mode, I have C, E, G. And what does that give me? A C major chord. So right there, you know that it's a major sounding mode. If I played C, E flat, G, that would give me a C minor chord. So again, the Lydian mode is a major mode because it has a natural third. Now, the Lydian mode has a, as I said earlier, kind of a haunting kind of a sound to it. At least that's a way I like to think of it. And you can use it in a light or jazzier type of setting, but you can also use that same idea or that same concept in a more of a rock type setting. Here I'll just play a line kind of demonstrating like a softer, jazzier kind of sound using the Lydian mode in a softer, jazzier type setting. As I just demonstrated, using the Lydian mode to create a softer, warmer, jazzier type of a line, it's not without saying that the Lydian mode can also be used in a rock type of a setting. A perfect example of this is the song Whipping Post from the Allman Brothers Band. When they used to play this live, the original band with Duane Allman, towards the end of the song, the band would just kind of pedal a C chord, free time. They would just sort of kind of staying on that, and while they were doing that, Duane Allman would be playing over that using Lydian mode. If he just played a C Ionian mode or a C major scale, being that it's a C major chord, it would sound a little too much like Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. But because he used the Lydian mode with the raised fourth, it gives it, again, I like to use that term, haunting, kind of a very haunting type of a sound. So here's an idea of what Duane Allman played over that section of Whipping Post when the band would just pedal the C chord. So there you can see the Lydian mode being put to use in more of a rock type of a setting. As I mentioned earlier, you can always mix modes up with the correct pentatonic and or blues scales. Remember, there are only two types of pentatonic scales, major and minor, and only two types of blues scales, major and minor. And being that the Lydian mode, as I showed you earlier, is a major sounding mode, that means you can mix up the Lydian mode with the major pentatonic and or the major blues scales. Here's a C major pentatonic scale. Remember, a pentatonic scale is a 5-tone scale. C major pentatonic. Here's a C major blues scale. Remember, the blues scale is a pentatonic scale, or the major blues scale is a major pentatonic scale with the addition of a flat third, which acts as a passing tone to the major third. Here's in the pentatonic scale, you're using the root, second, third, fifth, and sixth degree, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 of the major scale, and the major blues scale, 1, 2, flat 3, 3, 5, 6. So it gives you that passing tone from the flat third to the third. And again, back to the Lydian mode, C Lydian. A lot of common tones between those three modes. Now, as I said, with the major blues scale, you have the flat third to the natural third acting as a passing tone. If you play the pentatonic, a C major pentatonic scale, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, but before the 5, if I insert that sharp fourth, which is in the Lydian mode, that can act as a transition or a leading tone into the natural fifth. So I could have two leading tones, if you will, by mixing the Lydian with the major blues scale. Okay, C, D, E flat, G, F sharp, G. So what I did there was I mixed up the notes between a C Lydian mode and a C major blues scale, which gave me two half-step passing tones. Again, the flat third to the natural third, and the sharp fourth to the natural fifth. Again, it comes down to your ears. You know, if you like the way it sounds, cool, use it. You know, experiment, move around, try different things. Again, like any other scales, you want to get these scale patterns in your hands, the muscle memory, so you don't have to think about it when you're playing, and let your ears work things out and see what works and what doesn't. Now I'll play a little bit, mixing up the Lydian mode with the major pentatonic scale and the major blues scale. I'll use the key of C to demonstrate. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave any questions or comments in the comments section below. I'm Dan Beagleman, and that's the Lydian mode. Have a nice day.